Prince Harry is once again out in California doing what he's been doing consistently since leaving the so-called firm, actual work. Not ribbon-cutting cosplay, not balcony standing, not issuing dramatic statements through sources close to the palace. No, real, tangible, sleeves rolled up service. And predictably, the UK media is either silent, dismissive, or choking on its own hypocrisy. This week, Prince Harry spent time at the Ventura Training Center in California, meeting formerly incarcerated firefighters, men who protected communities during wildfire season and are now continuing that service through long-term careers in fire service. Let me repeat that slowly for the people in the back who only read headlines. Formerly incarcerated men who saved lives, protected homes, and are now rebuilding their futures through meaningful work. And who showed up to listen? Not a photo-op monarch, not a work-shy heir with a camera crew glued to his elbow. Prince Harry. Now, here's the part that makes certain corners of the internet itch uncontrollably. This wasn't about Harry centering himself. It wasn't about him giving a speech from a podium taller than his empathy. It wasn't about him pretending to understand people's struggles from behind palace walls. He showed up, shook hands, listened, and highlighted the work of the Anti-Recidivism Coalition, an organization focused on rehabilitation, re-entry support, life skills training, and healing. You know, that inconvenient word the monarchy loves to say, but never actually practice. Rehabilitation. The Anti-Recidivism Coalition's own words say it all. They thanked Prince Harry for taking the time to meet with their men and hear their stories. They spoke about pride, leadership, and commitment. And they pointed out something crucial: what's possible when opportunity meets purpose. No drama, no leaking, no briefing, just gratitude and impact. And this is why the UK media struggles so badly with Harry and Meghan Sussex, because they expose the difference between performance and purpose. Let's talk about these firefighters for a moment, because their story matters more than the tantrums happening in Royal Rota group chats. These men were formerly incarcerated. Society wrote them off, labeled them, filed them away as mistakes. And yet, when wildfires tore through California, some of the most dangerous and destructive fires we've seen, these men were on the front lines protecting communities that might never even know their names. They did the job, they saved lives, and instead of being discarded again, programs like this gave them a future. That's what rehabilitation looks like when it's real, not rhetorical. Prince Harry showing up here is not random. It aligns perfectly with everything he's been doing post-royal life. Mental health, veterans, trauma recovery, second chances, systems that fail people and how to fix them. This is the work. This is the thread. This is consistency. Meanwhile, across the pond, we get endless coverage of who wore what, who copied who stood where, and who looked keen enough for the cameras. One side is rebuilding lives. The other side is rebuilding narratives every 48 hours because the truth keeps slipping through. Now, let's address the elephant wearing a crown. Why does this bother people so much? Because Harry didn't just leave the institution, he exposed it. He showed that service doesn't require hierarchy, compassion doesn't need permission, and impact doesn't need a palace seal. And Meghan Sussex? Don't worry, she's part of this too, even when she's not physically there. Because the ethos Harry is living out loud is the same one Meghan has been dragged for since day one. Center the marginalized, question broken systems, treat people like humans, not optics. Remember how Meghan was attacked relentlessly for visiting women's shelters, supporting survivors, advocating for mental health, or simply existing in spaces where empathy was required? Funny how that tune changes when those same values suddenly look effective. The UK media would rather scream, "Where's Meghan?" than admit the obvious. This work doesn't require her presence to reflect her influence. Their partnership shifted Harry permanently. The man who once played royal dress-up now plays no games with purpose. And here's the part that truly fries certain brains. Harry doesn't need to do this. He could easily live a quiet life, disappear into wealth, and never engage again. But he doesn't. Over and over, he shows up in uncomfortable spaces, prisons, trauma centers, disaster zones, and listens. Listening? Imagine that. Contrast that with the copy and paste royal engagements we keep seeing. Charity visits with press pools, carefully curated angles, engagements announced days in advance so photographers can catch the candid moments. And then, nothing. No follow-up, no sustained involvement, no systemic change. Service without substance is just theater. Harry's critics love to scream PR whenever he does good, but let's be honest, if this were PR, it would be louder. There'd be exclusive deals, prime-time interviews, endless royal commentators foaming at the mouth on breakfast TV. Instead, this story came from the organization itself, not Harry, not a spokesperson, not a leaked quote. That silence, that restraint, that's how you know it's real. And of course, brace yourselves because the backlash script is already loading. They'll ask why he's involved. They'll question his qualifications. They'll suddenly pretend to care deeply about incarceration policy when knowing absolutely nothing about it. They'll compare him unfairly to people who have never touched this kind of work with a 10-foot pole. But here's the gag. The people who matter, the ones doing the work, living the change, rebuilding their lives, they're the ones thanking him. And that's the only review that counts. This moment also highlights something the monarchy refuses to grapple with. Modern service requires proximity, not distance. You don't help people by ruling over them. You help people by standing beside them. Harry learned that the hard way, and Meghan Sussex paid the price for teaching it. Because let's not rewrite history. When Meghan advocated for compassion, she was called difficult. When she spoke about systems failing women and people of color, she was branded divisive. When she dared to center mental health, she was mocked. Now, look, those same conversations are mainstream, monetized, and suddenly important. Funny how that works. So while the tabloids scramble to manufacture outrage, Prince Harry is out here amplifying people who rarely get a platform. He's reminding us that redemption is not a fairy tale, it's a policy choice. It's an investment. It's a belief that people are more than their worst mistake. And if that makes certain institutions uncomfortable, good. Growth usually does. Let's also clock the symbolism here. Firefighters, formerly incarcerated, California wildfires, climate crisis, public safety, rehabilitation. This isn't random. It's intersectional service. It's messy. It's real. It doesn't fit neatly into royal protocols or colonial hierarchies, which is exactly why it works. Harry didn't abandon service when he left royal life. He finally found the freedom to practice it honestly. And Meghan Sussex? She didn't take him away. She stood beside him while he became who he was always meant to be. So the next time someone asks, what does Harry even do? Send them this. Send them the faces of men who saved communities and were finally seen as worthy of a future. Send them the words of an organization actually doing the work. Send them the receipts. Because while others pose as leaders, Harry is out here practicing leadership, quietly, consistently, and without applause. And that, my friends, is why the noise will never stop. But neither will the work. Thank you for watching, and happy holidays from minds to your families.